BBC Three Counties Radio, Nick Coffer in Hatfield as part of our big tour of Beds, Herts and Bucks this week. And Hatfield House is home to Lord and Lady, I nearly said Lazy, I mean Lady Salisbury and their family. It's one of the 10 treasure houses of England, along with Woburn Abbey, another one of our beautiful local sites. So the magnificent home, along with its gardens, are now open to the public. And earlier I met with Dermot Burke and Marie Warren. They gave me a wonderful tour of the house.
I think this is one of the most beautiful walks in the Three Counties. The spectacular grounds of Hatfield House behind me, making my way up the beautiful steps to the large wooden door, where hopefully Marie and Dermot will be on the other side. Indeed they are. Good morning to both of you as I make my way into Hatfield House, a house which I know well because I've come here many a time with my family. But to anyone who hasn't been to Hatfield House, let's try and get a sense of what we've got here. We're going to start in the Marble Room, which is the Marble Hall, yeah. Beautifully wooden-clad, walled, grand hall, I would describe it. Tell me, Marie, what have we actually got in here as we make our way in?
Well, this is the grand entrance to the house. The carriages would have swept up the south front, deposited their guests, and this is the first room they would come into. Wow. It gets its name from the marble floor. It's 2 stories high and almost the full width of the house. And it's Jacobean. Robert Cecil, he built it in 1611. It took 4 years, and there are 223 rooms in this house.
The first thing that strikes me is the sheer scale, Dermot. It is very high. It is very grand. Was that deliberate? Was the intention to create the wow factor with these portraits that must be the best part of 3 meters high?
It's one of the most beautiful rooms you will ever see. It really is stunning, and our visitors love this room. It really is remarkable. Just look about you. Look at the royal box. English oak from 1611. It is stunning. I think this is one of the most beautiful rooms I've ever been in.
It is truly beautiful, and you mentioned the oak. Marie, this is a very oak-clad, very dark, very heavy room, brightened by these spectacular portraits. Who can we see?
Well, this is Robert Cecil to your right. He built this house in 1611. His father, Lord Burleigh, served Queen Elizabeth I for 40 years, and Robert served her for the last 5 years of her life. And the other portraits is Mary, Queen of Scots, very tall lady, 5'11". And this is her son, James I, and Charles I, his son. And then you have the dual portrait, and in the middle of the 2 portraits of father and son, you have their mother, Mildred Burleigh, and underneath them there is Margaret Beaufort, who is the mother of Henry VII.
What's striking is the almost photographic quality of these pictures, Dermot, isn't it? The attention to detail is absolutely beautiful.
But look at this one. This is the special one. This is one of the most famous portraits in England. It is the rainbow portrait of Queen Elizabeth I. Now come closer and I'll show you something very special.
Let's go right up to it.
Right up close. It's all about symbolism. And the first thing you notice, look at the eyes and the ears. This queen could see everything and she could hear everything.
They're on her robe.
On her robe and on her dress. Beautiful, aren't they? And they just jump out at you. As I said, she could see everything, she could hear everything. Look at the sleeve here, her left arm, the serpent, that symbolizes wisdom. Look at the rainbow in her right hand. The rainbow symbolizes peace. Now it looks faint, but it is meant to be faint because nothing could be brighter than the Queen. And the lovely Latin term here means no rainbow without the sun, because she was the sun. She was everything to everybody. That is one of the most famous portraits in England.
And isn't it stunning when you get close up, as we make our way out of the large hall here, but when you get close up and you see the symbolism, the attention to detail, from 2 or 3 meters back, it looked like a very traditional portrait. And then when you get close up, the symbolism of the ears and the eyes. You could probably hear by the sound of my voice, we've left the echoing cavernous hall, and we're now at the stairs. Again, more oak, the grand staircase.
This is carved by John Buck It's a cantilevered, self-supporting Italian Renaissance staircase, and it's a copy of the one that Robert had at his house in Theobald's. John Buck is also responsible for all the carving around the house. And at the top of the staircase, he has a signature post with a windmill on it, and that symbolises that the centre pivot of a windmill is called a buck. So that's his signature post to say, "At last I finished the staircase."
In the previous room, we saw the stunning paintings. The reason I think that my voice sounds deadened as we go up the grand staircase are these incredible embroideries that adorn the wall. Again, absolutely huge. I'm trying to work out, they must be the best part of 4 metres tall by 3 metres wide. What's the story behind these, Dermot?
They're Brussels tapestries, 1675, a set of 19. Quite a number of them are in the private house where the family live. That's Lord and Lady Salisbury. And we've got these lovely tapestries on the stairs of the grand staircase. They are stunning, they really are. Just look at them wherever.
What are they depicting? The one behind me here, it's got, I can see 4 young girls on it. What are they doing?
4 young girls. Mythical gods and mythical beings, and Scipio and Hannibal are a real mixture. They were made by Henri Redams way back, as I said, in 1675. And they are just beautiful. People come far and wide to see these tapestries. They are so famous. I mean, when you think about it, 1675, quite remarkable.
Well, what is remarkable as well, not only in the scale and the detail, but also the fact that they still look in such beautiful condition, because we're talking the best part of, 350 years old. How have they stayed so well?
We have ladies who work in this house in the tapestry room, the conservation department, and these ladies have been here for many years. They are specialists. They know their trade, and they look after these tapestries. We are so lucky here to have these wonderful ladies under Joan Kendall's stewardship. And this lady was trained in the Victoria and Albert many years ago, and she has taught her ladies the art of tapestries. And that's why they are looking so good.
Everything about this house is grand. We've just, as we were walking there, made our way into another room which is of a completely different style to the marble hall that we saw downstairs. This, for me, is regal. Velvet-clad, long reclining sofas and settees. The walls are totally full of paintings. It's an incredibly impressive, almost overwhelming sight, Marie. Where are we? We're in the drawing room, are we?
In the King James drawing room, and you can see a full life-size statue of King James in the niche in the fireplace. It's said to be 6 foot from toe to top of crown. And there are over 70 paintings in this room. When I came here 11 years ago, there were a few family portraits and red flock wallpaper, and then about 4 or 5 years ago, Lord Salisbury has lined the walls. He's been collecting these tapestries, lined the walls with tapestries, and row upon row of his art. You've got to remember he's inherited over 400 years of art, and he is a collector himself, so he wants you to see as much of it as possible. And obviously there are some more important than the others, but they are very beautiful.
There's almost a double impact. I couldn't quite work out why it felt so impressive and heavy, but basically what you've got is the pictures on top of the tapestries. So it's, not only are the walls completely full of pictures, and I mean, looking at this wall in front of me, there's about 15 pictures in a fairly small space, but they are on a background of the tapestries. It's almost an overwhelming impact, isn't it?
It is absolutely overwhelming, but still beautiful. And it gives a warmth to the room as well.
As I look ahead of me, I can see a room that looks very, very long. What are we heading into?
It's the long gallery.
No, I didn't do that deliberately. I immediately got a sense of length.
It's 172 feet long. And it's the ceiling would have been white. This is a Jacobean house, so all the ceilings were originally white. But this one was, they were expecting Queen Victoria to come in 1846, and the second Marquess had been to Venice and seen a ceiling painted like this in gold leaf. So he brought the chap back and had this one painted, and in 1846 it cost £1,700. Lord knows what it would cost today. It's still very beautiful. And they strengthened the floor, and Queen Victoria and Albert had their ball in this long gallery. This is
on this actual floor?
On this actual floor, yes. Yes.
The ceiling is still in beautiful condition.
It certainly is, yeah.
The gilt just looks immaculate.
Fabulous, doesn't it? Absolutely beautiful. And lovely views out of the windows as well.
Just looking around, there's a lot of red ropes.
Yeah.
How much of this house is still lived in? So, for example, this long room here, would this still be used, or is it very much a museum piece?
We are guides in the house until September the 30th, and then the house shuts. And we assume that we give it back to the family, sort of thing. They live in the East Wing. They have a wonderful accommodation in the East Wing. And obviously they have to heat this house in the winter. If it was my house, I would use parts of it, but we really don't know because we're not here. But I should assume, yes, they would use these rooms, yeah.
How wonderful to be able to say that you live in a wing of a house. In reality, we could spend 2 hours going around this house. Dermot, I think there's one last room you want to show me, though, a room that you're particularly proud of. Where are we headed?
We're heading for the winter dining room, and what stands out here are the tapestries, 4 very famous tapestries, the 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn and winter. And look at the emblemata around these tapestries.
What is emblemata?
They're little articles taken from books. They're extra. On most tapestries you will see a flower on the bottom, but here we have lovely Latin terms. For example, let me show you this one. Amore vincit omnia, love conquers all. There it is, one of 42 borders round this magnificent tapestry of winter.
And when was it made?
This one was completed in 1611. This was the last one. The first one, spring, we believe started in 1590, and they were done by young people because there were no reading glasses in those days. There was no electricity, so they were done by candlelight and window light, and the people, when they finished these at the age of 40, were blind. I mean, there's a real history to these tapestries. They are 4 of the most famous tapestries you will ever see.
And they are stunning. The attention to detail is ever so slightly mind-boggling. This is my idea of a dining room, just to be clear, with 20 seats around a very beautiful long table there, wonderful portraits, an oak-clad wall and ceiling. Marie, I could quite happily live here. The tours that the tours that you give of the house, how long do they last?
An hour, approximately an hour, yes.
What do you love about taking people around the house?
About this place? I've been here 11 years. I've loved every minute of being here. It's just, wouldn't anybody, look around you, wouldn't anybody love to work in these surroundings and with some lovely fellow guides? It's a sheer pleasure, believe you me.
Oh, and I could see the pleasure on her face. They absolutely love showing people around Hatfield House. They're very proud of where they work. It really is a remarkable sight. And I hope that in that just little insight that we were able to give you there, that it'll inspire you to come down and visit it as well. As I said, I could have spent 2 or 3 hours going around the whole house. I think I barely touched the surface.
Why did you do it?
Do what? You think that I killed Lucy?
Who else is caught up in this?
It had nothing to do with me, I swear to you.
There's a lot more to it than they make out, you mark my words.
It's all just gossip to you, isn't it?
I've done nothing wrong!
EastEnders.
More wicked lies.
How much is my sister worth?
There's a killer amongst them.
Talk to the old Bill.
Was it you?
Continues tonight at 8 on BBC.